Hey Mark, it's great to have you.
Hey, thanks, Ravi.
I guess modular content has been around for several years, but why is intelligent modular content different and why is it a game changer?
Excellent point, Ravi. This concept of modular content has been around for quite some time. It's been mainly informed by tools that drive email or by the plethora of authoring tools that's been around there. The problem with that is that essentially it just delivers a smaller version of traditional content or smaller pieces of traditional content. The problem with having smaller pieces of traditional content is that ultimately it's not really form-free. It's geared toward a specific channel and doesn't lend itself to be easily translated into other channels that are required to deliver an optimal customer experience. Then it's also incomplete, meaning you have typically one version of creating a certain piece of content. You don't have multiple versions to address different customers or different communication styles. You might even have complete components missing that allow you to assemble a final content. So if I have modules that would be assembled into an iDetail, they may not have the components that are required to create an email with the exact same content. So for example, certain subject lines or certain call to actions that are not used in one channel but are used in another. Thirdly, these type of traditional modules are not really adaptable. The way that you size them, the way that the components are organized within these modules is limited and already predetermining how the content will be communicated, so you cannot easily translate it into different channels. And last but not least, if you then try to take these components and create variations of them in so many ways to address all these issues, it becomes essentially operationally not just burdensome, but almost prohibitive, to a point where you have to be able to find, to discover, to control the versions of all these different ways in order to then assemble all type of content. Doesn't really become feasible anymore.
So Mark, how do we solve this problem?
Essentially, for each communication point that you want to bring across to the customer, you need to create a set of components and organize them with each other and let them be guided by a set of business rules. We call this construct a component map. A component map essentially gives you all the ingredients and all the business rules that you need to bring a communication point across, and then allows you to assemble these communication points within an approved template into a final asset. And that can serve for any channel and in any context.
So that's great, Mark, but how will agencies have to work differently in this new intelligent modular content world?
Quite substantially, Ravi. Today, agency work is more of a focus on creation of final materials. And it has to shift toward creating real substance for communicating certain points of education and information for customers around the brand that companies have to offer. Today, agencies focus on creating the best efficacy graph based on limited quant and qualitative studies. Tomorrow, they will focus on creating content and different ways and forms of communicating that content based on data and based on real customer insight. Final assembly of that content into a final asset then ultimately becomes less of a creative process and more of an operational process. That's based on data, that's based on channel expertise, and ultimately the context that customers will consume the content in. So in summary, the role of the agency is going to change or will have to change quite substantially in order to bring more value to that process.